Shabbat Shalom, friends. I am getting in from work a little late. I am here to talk about our weekend message. I'm kind of whispering and talking low because it's really late at night and I don't want to be loud for my neighbors, and it just feels like too late to talk loud. But yeah, I hope everybody is well. I had a pretty good night at work. Wasn't too crazy, but we did have to flip the whole dining room because there's going to be a big wedding at the restaurant tomorrow. Somebody bought out the whole venue, and so we had to turn it into a different space essentially. So we've been moving around furniture, and then I don't know. Me and my friend went and got some beers afterwards, so I'm a little bit spacey and tired, but I did not want to skip the video. So, I did want to skip it, but then I knew that was going to mean that it was going to be an important one for someone. So I was like, no, I have to do it. So here we are. On to the material. So out of the Radiant Sun Oracle, I pulled Companion, which is Moon in Libra, by the way. I love these cards. I had never heard of them, but they're really great. It's called the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. I think it's an older deck. I don't know, it seemed kind of weird and hard to find when I was looking up to buy it. But it's basically each card, it's a rather big deck, and it's an astrology based deck. So it goes through the moon suit, and it's the moon within each astrological sign, and it kind of breaks down the mood or essence of that energy within each card. Genius. So amazing. So if you're also trying to learn more about astrology and what different placements in different houses would be, this is a great tool to learn with. It's amazing. I've been obsessed. So we've got Companionship, which is Moon in Libra. We pulled Friendship, which is Moon in Cancer. Two of my signs right there, two of my big three. And we pulled Loss, which is Saturn in Pisces. Underneath Companionship, we pulled Three of Pentacles out of the Dreaming Way Tarot. And I feel like the art in these two card decks go really well together. Out of Friendship, we pulled the Ten of Wands, or under Friendship. And then under Loss, we pulled Three of Wands. So I feel like right now we've been, over the last few weeks, so let's back up a little bit. We talk a bit about Hebrew holidays on this channel. I'm a practicing Kabbalist. I am Judeo-Christian, and so I practice the Hebrew Kabbalah, and so I celebrate all Hebrew holidays. Now, usually I'm off work on Friday nights, so I have Shabbat off, but since this week, because of Memorial Day and because of the buyout and the wedding, and then I took off for my sister's crawfish boil. Her and her wife are throwing a crawfish boil Sunday, so my schedule was changed. But I do the Hebrew holidays, and I do certain mitzvahs, but not all of them. So I don't know. There's a lot to do, but I do some of it. I do as much as I can. So during Passover. And so I participate in these holidays through the lens of mysticism, Kabbalah, which is the soul and spiritual activity that is going on behind these holidays, not just the historical significance. So through the lens of Kabbalah, every Hebrew holiday is based around a window in time. That's why the Hebrew holiday, the Hebrew calendar is the moon calendar. The Hebrew calendar and all of the holidays and every day of the year, every week of the year has this signature of energy in it. And the Hebrew religion celebrates, or they acknowledge, astrology, like the signs and the the energy of the signs and how they affect each month by the new moon in that sign. And so, at least in Hebrew Kabbalah, astrology is very applicable. It's not to tell your future, but it's more like a blueprint of your soul. It's like your soul assignments. It's like your particular workbook for yourself in this life. And so, during certain times of the year, and it usually lines up with astrology, big astrological seasons and movements. So during this past holiday, we had Passover. Passover is also usually, I don't know if it's always lined up this way, but this year it was, and I think it always is. It's timed with the Aries new moon, which is the first new moon of the calendar year of that energetic season, because Aries is the first astrological sign to start the will. It's the baby, it's the birth of the year. So during that time period, we had Passover. And during Passover, in addition to Passover astrologically, we were ending the last bit of 2022, because even in 2023, like the last season of the year is winter. It's when we finish. It's when we die. We die and we lay in a void for winter, and we cleanse and we purge and we heal and we shed these layers that are no longer in our highest good, right? And so then in spring, we are then reborn, right? So we die and then we resurrect. So that falls right into Passover, right? And Jesus's crucifixion was not accidentally during this time of year. You get it? Like Passover's happening this time of year. The crucifixion happened during Passover. So they're all happening at the same time for a reason. They're on purposely at the same time. So Passover happens, and when Passover, like as a soul holiday, as an open window in time where we could connect to spiritual light and transformation, Passover plays the part of taking whatever is left over from that old cycle and freeing us from that, right? It's leaving slavery. It's leaving the things that had dominion over us, control over us, and we take back our sovereignty. And so that means we break through old patterns and mindsets and addictions and things that we've struggled with, and we're liberated from that. And so during that time of Passover, that night, we're exposed to all of this energy from the light of the Creator. What we talk about on this channel is that everything that we see, everything in this reality, is animated by the light of the Creator. And everything that gives us fulfillment and pleasure, whether it be a lover, a meal, a drug, like going to church, whatever it is, the thing that's giving us the fulfillment is the light of the Creator. And we get really hung up on the husks that they're in, right? We get caught up in the vessel, and we idolize the vessel, when really it's the light, the fulfillment that we want. And we can go direct to the source for that. And so during Passover, we connect directly to the light of the Creator, instead of through the vessels that we've used in our addictions. But the light, the direct light, is so strong that we have to go through a process to ground that in. And the spiritual process of grounding that energy, like a battery bank, is challenge, trial, tribulation, where you embody the wisdom and you act it out, so that it becomes a solid part of you, and it's not waste, it's not refuse, it's not redundant. So following Passover, there's another period of time called the Omar, or the Omer, which is 7 weeks. And each week has a certain theme of how, it's like each week has a certain theme of trials and tribulations that are specifically designed to test certain parts of your soul. certain parts of your consciousness. And these challenges are thematic. They play on all the aspects of the ego. And so this happens for 7 weeks. And then at the very end, the very last day, the grand finale is called Shavuot. And that is the day that we have overcome and transcended, hopefully, all of these parts of our ego, and we have transcended them within our soul, and we've corrected a lot over these past few weeks using the light that we gathered during Passover. So basically, we use the light of Passover to help us free ourselves from the addictions and the things that bind us and all those patterns. But the thing is, it doesn't happen overnight. We have to go on an exodus. And the exodus happens over those 7 weeks, where we're going to be tested and we're going to be triggered and we're going to want to go back to the old habits and patterns. And that is when it's like the plagues came and finally God convinced the Pharaoh to let the people go. But it was up to the people to actually walk away from Egypt. We can get this light from God and this help, but it's actually up to us to actually follow through and do the work. We have to walk out of Egypt. And even still, we still circle the same patterns for 40 years over and over and over and over again, complaining the whole time that it's someone else's fault. Moses, why aren't you a better leader? So we're here now. And I didn't even realize this because I got so lost in all the time. And so during this time also, during the Omer, we also just went through eclipse season and Mercury retrograde. Eclipse season, a catalytic event that causes death, rebirth, transformation, freeing us from the old patterns, the things that held us down, the addictions. It's a purification of what is no longer in alignment with our authenticity. That's what eclipse season is. It cleans out all the things that we didn't let go of voluntarily during the ending of the previous year, during Pisces season, during the deep dive, right? So we've just come through 7 weeks of challenge, eclipses, Mercury retrograde, all kinds of planetary aspects and squares, and Uranus is everywhere. Everything is up in Uranus. Everything is conjunct Uranus right now. And so we've just come through a lot of challenges, and you might have had this kind of grand finale happen where it's everything was just popping off right and left. Dun, 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 dun. So finally, it's all finished. And then this week, it's the back-to-back readings, you guys, with even the anchor messages. It was it was that 1 week where we had shaman, mystic, everything. It was every kind of deep life lesson all in 1 week. Transformation. And so this week, it's more of the same. But I think it's been narrowed down to this is your pattern. This is the thing. The major thing, the last thing that we need to address that is really keeping you bound in this life. And so you may have found that it's been playing out over the last couple of weeks. And so these cards today are really talking about that. So yesterday, I was when was Thursday? It was yesterday. That was Shavuot. Shavuot is the grand finale of all the challenge, where it's yay, we graduated. We were the world card, where we came through the full cycle of the education, and now we're on the other side of it. And so that day, it's you win. All of the work that you spiritually did, you get to keep if you don't short circuit on Shavuot. And Shavuot, the point of it is for the soul to choose unity above separation against all odds. And which it's ironic because on Thursday I found myself having to do just that, but I didn't even know until later when I went to bed. And I was oh my God, I'm so proud of myself because I could have been ornery today, and instead I chose unity on my own. Yes. And so again, that's what we're coming to today in our talk. It was the energy forecast for the week depicted the merging card with the two conjoined twins, and their heads, they had put their heads together, right? Their heads were together. They had separate bodies. We had more of these themes following through the week. If you haven't seen the videos, some really good episodes this week. Better go back and watch every single minute, and like and comment and share. And while we're at it, we're gonna just go ahead and do that to this video. But if we get to the end of this video and you hate it, you can take your like back. But I have a feeling you'll just let me have it. And go ahead and comment. You can leave me a little, a crystal ball emoji. That will be fun if you don't know what to say. And yeah, let me know. I love in the comments when you guys tell me what you're connecting with, or like what is going on with you. Like, I get into your storylines as well. So yes, so this week's lesson, it may have been culminating through the week, but I really feel that this is about relationship patterns. And you may have been feeling like you may have been coming up against things with friends, with family, with lovers or potential suitors or whoever in a romantic regard. You may have had to have confrontations with people this week about things. But they have been, everything that has transpired, regardless of whether it was good or bad or the ugly, this was the workbook assignment, just as it was, just as it played out. It was always supposed to happen that way. You were supposed to play the role that you played. Other people were supposed to play the role that they played, because we have been teamed up in a group activity, group project, to get to the bottom of these patterns. And so you may have noticed that the key players around you were playing exactly into your patterns, and you were kind of playing exactly into theirs. Or even if you weren't meaning to, it was like you were primed to be perfect bait together in this group activity for the transcendence of our soul. So this time around, we're being asked in these relationship lessons and patterns that we're breaking, we're really being whether it's like asked, presented, put into the situation, where we're being evolved or tested or asked to be able to seek unity while also maintaining our individuality, our independence, our own opinion, or our own perspective, right? Without being stubborn and closed-minded, right? So we're learning how to be open and vulnerable and receptive. We're learning how to choose unity, but also maintain individuality. And you can even have conflict within unity. You can disagree within unity. But what that looks like is an open discussion and a respect for the person's differing opinion or side. And you can even walk away agreeing to disagree. You can even continue to fight it out and continue to like, come on, like we're gonna duke it out over this, as long as you don't have hardness in your heart toward the person, as long as you don't make it personal, as long as you don't have malice. So you don't have to go along to get along. That's what we're getting over right now. Because what I see when I was looking at these pictures, especially since these people are over her, right? I feel like it's like all these people here are having their companionship and they're all doing their thing. And I feel like that this is the people pleaser down here. Like when we're talking about merging without having unity, without completely becoming codependent or losing the self within another, while being able to maintain that individuality, or being able to be within a group even. And you know, it takes someone to be able to say, all right, I'm stepping out. I'm holding everybody accountable, or I'm calling it like it is, right? Those are the people that are leaders, right? But this person, it feels like they're like, I'm waiting for my ship to come in, And everybody else over here is having fun, and they all have their shit, you know, the things that they need. And I'm over here waiting for my collaborators and my resources. So the three of Pentacles talks about people seeing your worth and your value and your talent and wanting to like come together and join in and work with you and pair up with you and create with you, right? And so I think there's like layers to this message. I think that I gotta go into that also. so much coming in, the visions. So I think that right now it's like we will be more likely to get what we want and be able to join in the celebration if we're not people pleasing, if we stand up in our own independence and not make it personal, right? But like have the backbone, have our individuality, have our own uniqueness, have, you know, be proud of what we bring to the picture, right? Don't be timid, you know? So that was part of what I was getting with this connection with the companionship. We are also overcoming our tendencies, like this 10 of Wands is old cycles where we're giving more than we're getting in return. Specifically 10 of Wands talks about overgiving to something that just never gives what it takes from you. And 10 of Wands is usually someone struggling with a bundle that's just like become more than they can bear. It's burdensome. They're tattered usually, or like disheveled. And so with the friendship above this, that's how I was connecting with that people pleasers. It's like, if you have been guilty of overgiving in your life, and that has been your lesson, because like there's different categories of soul correction, and sometimes they just like simplify down into like dualistic categories. But so in Kabbalah, there's what's called tikkun healing. And this is like the soul correction that you do in this life. Tikkun. It's like your soul assignment. And from a broad stroke point of view, like when you narrow it down, like people have really specific things. But when you look at it at broad strokes, people either have a tikkun on the side of mercy or a tikkun on the side of judgment. And the people who have tikkun on the side of mercy tend to be overgivers. They tend to be people pleasers. They have doormat syndrome, right? Don't have a backbone, or they get triggered and they do whatever they can to be Mr. Nice Guy or Miss Nice Guy, right? But those people aren't very trustworthy because they can be pushed and persuaded into things that they don't really want to do or don't agree with, right? And so they find that they can't trust themselves. And it's hard for others to trust them too because they don't have strong boundaries. So for these people, part of the lesson and part of the pattern in the relationships scheme of things is being able to say no, being able to set a boundary, being able to say like, this is okay, but this isn't, you know? But getting over that tendency to people please is part of what we need to break in this pattern. Now, if you have the tikkun in the side of judgment, then you are probably more of a selfish person and self-serving, and you care about other people's needs less than your own. And you're usually taking and not giving as much from the relationship. And so for you, boundaries can easily fall into an easy scapegoat where you're like, oh, this sounds healthy. This is a healthy excuse. I don't know if anybody has seen Persuasion on Netflix. Persuasion is a new movie made, it's based on a Jane Austen novel. And the thing about that movie is they nail it so good. There's a character who's the narcissist, and she has become hip to self-help like jargon. And so she is calling everyone else the narcissist. Oh, everyone's such a narcissist. Oh, they're so selfish. It's all about them. And like, she's like the worst one, right? So if you are on the side of not usually being the overgiver, I mean, we all know who we are, then you might find that you need to be a little bit more open and a little bit more vulnerable and a little bit more giving and sharing, because you might, like, as soon as you get like uncomfortable or avoidant, you might go into, well, that's just violating my boundary. I have my boundaries. And it's like, yeah, okay, when everybody doesn't want to do something, it's like all about boundaries. So be careful if you're using that as a scapegoat. But also, we need to have healthy boundaries. But healthy boundaries are just that. Like, if your boundaries are too strong, they just become walls, right? Fortresses that keep people out, that are too high, that are too thick. There's no doorways, right? But when you want people to be able to come in and out, like, you have a gate, right? And you can lock the gate when it's time to keep things secure. But you can open it as you would like. So yeah, I think that this is about overcoming the tendency to overgive to a situation that's not giving to you in return, or being more sharing when you haven't been. And knowing where to draw the line, and where sharing becomes overgiving and enabling. Or, because there's another concept in Kabbalah that we don't talk about a lot on this channel, but it's called bread of shame. And bread of shame occurs when someone has given to you when you haven't earned, or when you haven't had an active desire, when you haven't been seeking from them and they still just give to you. And you're like, but I don't deserve this. Or like, why are there strings attached? And it literally builds resentment. Like, when someone is too giving to you and you start to get, it just starts to be repulsive. Or like you start to resent it. Or like, you're like, it's just like, it feels like there's so much obligation here now. Like, or guilt, or like just weird feelings. That's called bread of shame. And so, yeah, you can overgive to people as well, and it causes damage. And then, okay, so then we have loss and Three of Wands. And I feel like, I mean, for most of us that have lived a few years in this world, we have experienced disappointment. And so the Three of Wands is a card where we have everything ready, like we're all packed and on the dock, and we're waiting for the ship to come in. And we're ready for that next level. We're ready for the next step. It's like we have a vision, we're ready to execute, and we're just waiting for the collaborators and the means, and the timing, the spiritual timing to be there, right? For everything to be ready, and we have our collaborators and our resources, and everything's in check. And now we're just waiting for the boat to land so we can get on the boat. Paired with the loss card, it feels like, things just didn't turn out the way we thought. And this could be many things in life. But I feel like, in a way, there's something that has just occurred recently that didn't go down the way that we had hoped, or the way we thought, or the way that we wanted. And it's like, it is what it is. Because this was all part of learning and the transcending. And I know there's like the meme that's like, I don't want to go through any more things that don't kill me but make me stronger. Sometimes I am literally like, what kind of a relationship am I being prepared for anyway? Like, is it even going to be good? Like, why did I have to go through all of this? But I guess so that it can be good, right? You do all the work so that you're not constantly triggered in arguments, right? You have perspective at the end of it. And so that maybe when you get to meet someone, that you can just enjoy life and not be caught up in a bunch of bullshit all the time, right? So something has gone terribly awry here. We have lost things along the way, things that we won't get back. And we have had to grieve those things. And we may be in the midst of grieving them right now. You may be around people that you know who have gone through loss. And it's your experience with this that has made you all the more compassionate and able to be a friend and a companion to those around you who are suffering through things, through ends of cycles, through losses of their own. And it's like you can help people know where to go from here, or to be able to sit in that and feel okay about it for a minute. And so your experience of all of these past lessons have helped you come to this moment where it's like, yeah, you're coming to terms with your own sense of loss, but you're doing it with a community. You can open up and you can share that, right? And lean on one another, lean on your friends, share what you're going through. I know I had a friend in the past who had been through a lot of pain, and I had been through a lot of pain too. And I kept thinking, wow, wouldn't it be great to share this together and to get through it, you know? Being able to share counsel and like just bounce things off of one another. And that friend did not respond to life that way. That friend ran away and became avoidant and shut people out. And I thought, wow, what a waste. You know, we all could have become closer, right? We could have opened up and been vulnerable and shared, you know, and become deeper friends because of it. And so, yeah, I just feel like right now there are things that have to do with relationships and friendships. And there could be romantic relationships and familial relationships and business relationships involved in this too. But whatever they are, they're going to have emotion tied in. It's going to have to be close enough relationships for it to matter, for you to care. And I think that things have been tested recently, and there have been many reasons for you to be able to not want to choose unity, because that's how it is in these holidays and these periods of time where we're connecting with unity. It's like, it's not gonna feel very unified. It's probably gonna feel like we're gonna be very tempted towards division, separation, anger, punishment, bitterness. That's exactly what we have to choose against. Because what have we been doing all this time if we haven't been trying to transcend our soul for what to bullshit ourselves now when we're in a moment, we're in this grand new beginning. And we have this window of time that's been, you know, it's Thursday, it's yesterday. So, you know, you can still kind of touch it, right? The veil is still thin there. But right now, it's like, if you choose to hold a grudge and be petty, you're going to short circuit a lot of blessings that could come in. But if you choose unity, if you choose forgiveness, if you choose mercy to go forward, then you're going to open yourself for a lot of blessings around the corner. And whatever this was that was a loss could be mended, but whatever it is, it may be a real loss, but there may be something coming in right around the corner, and you never know. Life can change in an instant. And, you know, you're going through life one day and you're like, you know, you're wanting some friends, or you're wanting a lover, or you're wanting, you know, a business partner, and you've been not wanting to do this on your own anymore, and you think it'll never happen. And then suddenly one day you meet a person who fits the bill. And before you know it, it's happened. And you're like, oh, wow. Within a matter of hours, my whole life has changed. So you just never know. So don't give up hope. Choose mercy. Choose forgiveness. But choose strength. Have your boundaries. You can have both. You can be a strong person with healthy boundaries and forgive and have mercy, and also be strong and take up for yourself, right? You can do it all. You can be them all in one person. It's about balance and temperance. All right, you guys, I'm tired. I'm going to warm up my Cajun beans and rice that I made last night. It was delicious, and there's only one more thing more delicious than day one of beans and rice, which is day two, when the pot's been sitting. Ooh, what y'all know about second day pots? They're the best. I mean, they get better with every day until they spoil, and then they're rancid. Oh, macabre and psycho. It's too late. I gotta turn this off. Y'all be good, but not too good. Ciao.